Hello and welcome to that Eurovision site, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. I'm Kittens, I use she, her pronouns, and I am here today to do a little recap with the 2024 edition of Finland's UMK, which took place on the 10th of February at the Nokia Arena in Tampere. 7 contestants battled it out in the competition, which is eventually won by Windows95Man with their track No Rules. I am joined by the very, very lovely.
I'm Daniel. I also use he, him pronouns, and I will be joining along for the ride.
You will indeed. Firstly, so let's talk about the winning track first. What did you think of Windows95Man? What do you think is the chances for this track at Eurovision?
I think the jury probably won't appreciate it too much. There might be a few people who say, hey, that Henry guy, he can actually sing a bit, let's give them something. But other than that, if you send a song like that, you know you're not going to get 400 jury points.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. But I think they're going to have a wonderful time doing it. And we had Kadia last year and people were like, well, Kadia won't get any jury points. And Kadia still got jury points. Not as many as they probably needed, but they still got jury points. So I don't know. Like, I think the crowd, both in the arena and at home, are gonna lap this up. Like, this is the track this year that I am going to be speaking to people about and saying, you want to watch the most Eurovision-y track this year? Go and watch this track. Because it's just, like, I've definitely had several, like, people from outside the fandom say to me, oh my God, yeah, that's what I want from a Eurovision track. Like, it's been around the work chats and, all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, like, what have you shown it to anybody? Have you been like getting anything off people or anything?
No, but I do think that of all the songs that have been released currently, this one will have the most legacy. People, they might not remember even if it wins like Ukraine or Italy, but especially not normal people as opposed to us, they will remember the guy in short shorts and the Windows hat singing about no rules without fireworks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think whatever happens is definitely going to be really, really memorable. And, people do watch Eurovision for all kinds of music. That's very evident in, like, the winners, and even the songs that become memorable. But equally, this kind of reminds me of stuff like Dancing Lascia Tumbai, in that, like, it's a track that went to Eurovision that everybody knows because it was iconic. So it's hard for me to tell, I think, like, how it's gonna go down in the arena. And again, we're filming this end of February. We don't have the full song list yet. There are other tracks that might take away from it. We don't fully know. So it's kind of hard to tell fully how it's going to turn out, but I think it's going to be a very enjoyable situation for a lot of people, and people are going to really enjoy it and latch onto it. Talking beyond that, looking at, like, obviously we only had 7 tracks, and UMK is very, like, compact in its track selection. What other tracks stood out to you? Which other tracks would you maybe have liked to have seen go, or just had something that was memorable for you?
I think, very unsurprisingly, Sarah Sipala with Paskana. I think it's a very well executed sad girl song. It's a very memorable staging, good vocals. But I'm also not one of the people who thinks that the competition is fundamentally flawed because it didn't win.
Yeah, personally, it wasn't for me, but I could absolutely see the merits of it. Like, I was never gonna playlist Paskana, but like, I could definitely see that it was like an artist who is really good, like somebody who's really passionate about the message of the song, and you know, the message of the song is so powerful and so dramatic, that I just felt, this is a stunning song, even if I'm not gonna listen to it myself. It definitely felt like something, and I was honestly, I was kind of surprised on the night that it didn't do better. There was kind of inklings that it was gonna maybe not do as well as Windows95Man earlier on. Like as the days went on closer to the time, it started to, I don't know, not lose momentum, but others got more momentum.
Also, Glow by Jesse Markin, which it's a song that would probably never win something like UMK, but it will do well in Finland domestically, definitely. I think there's always quite a few songs in UMK that fill that role. We had like Kuma last year and Benjamin as well.
Yeah, personally, like my favorites were Sini Sabotage, Korima, and again, Glow. It's a really catchy bop. It's got a lot of energy. It was performed really well on stage. Really cohesive package. And they should absolutely, be proud of what all that came out as. You know, I think it's great to see that we had a good variety of tracks generally in UMK this year. So, getting that a little bit more of a like interesting edge on things and displaying a bit more of, I mean, I don't know Finland's music scene that well, but a bit more variety, and it was quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, for me, like Korima, I felt it really lacked something in the performance. The performance felt a little messy and unfinished for me, but that track is going to remain on my playlist for a very long time. I really love it. It gives me a big burst of energy. Absolute, great track. Very much me coded. But I felt the performance lacked a little bit on the night, and I can't quite put my finger on what it was. It just felt a little not cohesive. It felt a bit messy, and I don't know. It didn't quite have what I wanted. That's not to say that it wasn't performed well. It was just not what I wanted, I think. But I think it's another solid year for UMK. Last year was a year that I instantly playlisted 6 songs out of 7 last year. And it won't surprise you to know which one I didn't playlist. Not at all, because it's probably the one you played the most.
I don't think so.
Oh, interesting. We'll have to have a chat about that later, but but yeah, no, I talking about the competition more generally now, talking about like UMK as a whole, as a competition, as a production. What are your thoughts about that?
I think just based off this year's production, you can tell they want to win Eurovision and host Eurovision in the same arena.
Yeah.
It was, even for a 7-song competition, it was a massive production. They had very big names in Finland for their guest stars and all just very high quality, very big arena that they sold out.
Yeah, it was sold out in a few hours, maybe even less, I forget. But I considered trying to get tickets, and by the time I thought about it, it had gone. I mean, if we consider where Finland was in Eurovision a few years ago versus what has happened to UMK the last few years, it has been such a change. And, massive applause to everyone who has been involved in that, because it has just gone from, it's fine, to this mega event that could absolutely out Melody Festival and Melody Festival, in terms of how big event it is. I would like to go, and I probably would like to go one year. It would be nice. It'll be cold, but I'll go.
-19 it was.
Yeah. What do you think of the voting process? Well, we obviously have international juries. We had 7 international juries.
Controversial, but I think it's fine.
Yeah, because it was, what was it? 75% public vote, 25% jury vote, which is an interesting ratio. But
I wouldn't want it in Eurovision, but for national selections where you're selecting someone to represent your country, I think it's only fair that the people in your country have the edge.
Yes.
If Finland really want Windows95Man, Finland can get Windows95Man, even if, a lot of people are saying, it probably won't do as well in the contest as some of the other ones in the selection.
I mean, I think it's very hard to tell, because they put together so many quality acts this year that I could have seen quite easily 3 or 4 of those just going and being in the top 10 left side of the board at Eurovision without even having to blink. I think the difference that UMK has is quality of what it's putting forward. And, yes, we did have a very different voting scenario come through on the international juries. Haskana got 70 points from the international juries, which Bayern, No Rules got 28, which is a big difference. But equally, it just goes to show that strength of public opinion in Finland. The amount of votes cast in general, and I know there was issues with the voting on the night, the amount of votes cast compared to somewhere like Benidorm Fest is wild. It is. We're talking 10,000. The smallest number was for Senior Sabotage got roughly 7,000. Windows95Man getting 72,500 votes effectively is huge, considering the winners in Benidorm Fest were struggling to get 6,000 or whatever. I forget the exact numbers, but clearly this is a show that has got a good hold on the public, kind of what they want, and they're eager enough to vote for it, which is, yeah, I think it's going to be, it's really interesting how that vote is. And a lot, I'm sure, will be said about every different country's voting system for internal selections in the aftermath of Eurovision. But I don't know. I feel like UMK might have something. They've clearly got a lot of interest from the public, and they're gonna use it. What did you? Sorry, go on.
I think people were complaining when it was 50-50. So, and now if people are complaining now, it's more you can't win either way. So keep it with what you want.
I feel like people are going to complain with whatever it is. I think partially like what happens in the national final and what happens in Eurovision are two different things, and they have a lot of different factors involved. And saying like, oh, if it had been 50-50, this would have happened, and this song would have gone forward, and it would have obviously won at Eurovision. You literally, there is no way to like 100% say that that's going to happen. It's just, it is what it is. The decision has been made. May just have to live with it, kind of jam, Like, what would you like to see UMK do going forward? What did you think needed some improvement, or what do you think you'd like them to do more of?
Honestly, I think they're doing basically everything right. They're clearly catering well to a Finnish audience. As someone watching internationally, it was very easy to follow.
Yeah, definitely.
Production quality was high. They had some of the best interval acts for a national final I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. Like, go on.
Even if Windows95Man just doesn't qualify yet 0 points, it won't matter.
It is a good show, regardless of what happens.
And even the songs that won't make it to Eurovision, they're doing well domestically. So the big artists, they'll still want to be part of the competition.
Yeah. And, the artists that didn't win last year, Voimanen ended up being one of the most played track or something.
They have the Finnish Emmys last week. They won 5 awards.
Yeah, exactly. And wasn't Bess presenting that one as well at the Emmys? Well, it was wild. We are definitely seeing the acts they're doing what some other national finals can't, and really tapping into that top tier of talent in Finland, and saying and I think people also know that the stakes are not just play in Finland, but also like play outside of Finland, even if you are a Finnish artist. With what happened to Karia last year, an artist who performs almost exclusively in Finnish, and is an international hit act basically now, and has a massive career without compromising, their own identity. I genuinely think that, like, especially the accessibility of like UMK to an international audience is absolutely amazing, and I really wish that more national finals would do this. It was in, I believe, was it 7 or 9 languages? A whole load of languages, including sign language in Finnish and Swedish, I believe. So it was just the amount of work going into that content, and all the content in English and Finnish, like on Instagram and stuff like that, everything subtitled from the start. They know they're playing to an international audience. while they are clearly focused on making Finland happy, they know that they are catering to an international audience. And, their neighbours in Sweden could definitely look to learn from that. I would love to see that. But as a Mellow fan myself, I would love to see this kind of scenario brought on by different national finals. We are seeing better accessibility for national finals for non-native language speakers. It's the Finnish approach is really interesting, and I think how it feeds the fans outside of Finland is really interesting. Plus, the accessibility. I forget what his name is. I think his name is Miguel. One of the sign language performers is the best. He is if you haven't seen his work with the UMK act, it's amazing, and you absolutely should, because he is absolutely beautiful. It's so good. Sorry, I'm ranting about accessibility now because this is a weird little passion of mine. Here we go. I need to stop ranting about this. I mean, I think overall, I'd love to see the UMK as just one night, actually.
Yeah. I think they've got a method that works. I think if they try and tamper with it, it could make it so it doesn't work.
This is one of the biggest national finals of the year, in terms of how much fans anticipate it, and it is a single night with 7 acts. I feel a lot of other countries are putting forward 20 acts, 30 acts, spreading it out over 6 nights or whatever, and still not getting the quality. So I feel definitely some kudos to them for just doing this is one night, this is what we're going to do, we're going to get the best acts in, we're going to do it. I think there's definitely something to be said for that, and kind of kudos to Finland for that, and doing that, I think. Any more final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, not really.
Well, fabulous. That brings us to the end of this recap. If you enjoyed this recap, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, so you can be notified when we have a new interview or recap or reaction video. Also, be sure to follow us on all our social media, so Twitter, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, Tumblr, Instagram. I'll get this right at some point. Did I get them all? And also be sure to check us out on that Eurovision podcast on all the streaming sites, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., your podcast of choice. And of course, check us out on the website, thateurovisionsite.com. All that's left for me to say is thank you very much, Daniel, for being here with me. And thank you for watching. Bye.